Okay, this week in Art Adventures, we're going to be painting a turtle. So everybody has a blank canvas. Now, I don't have a helper today, so if you ever need to stop and pause and catch up, go ahead and do that, okay? So the first thing is we're going to need some white. So I'm going to use the bigger brush. Okay, so I'm going to use some white. Put it there, and I'm going to add some green to it. You want a lighter green. Don't mix it in like really well. It's okay if you got streaks. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is draw out our turtle with our green paint. So if you just look at the shape of it, kind of is triangle-like. I'm going to make a little mark there, a little mark there, and a little mark down there. Now I'm going to just draw them together. Okay, so just about like that. Now we're going to make, with the green also, we're going to make his flippers. It's too rounded. I'm going to make it a little pointy. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and paint them in with the green then. Okay. Now the next one. Same thing. I'm going to make a little pointier. Okay. Yeah, it needs to be a little bit. Okay. Now the head just kind of goes like that and that. Go ahead and paint that in. All right. Now fix his nose a little bit. Okay. And then his other flippers, depends on how crooked you want him, because he's supposed to be trying to swim. All right, one more. Okay. Now while that is drying a little bit, I'm going to use the smaller brush. I'm going to put some white on the plate and a little bit of red. Okay, now I'm going to use a small brush because I'm going to draw the starfish in. I find starfish is very hard to draw, and I never do a very good job. So just use your light red, which is almost pink looking. Make your starfish. If you make a mistake like I did right there and make too big, don't worry about it. It'll cover up with the blue just fine. So once you make your starfish, go ahead and paint it in. Everybody's will be a different color. It's up to you how dark or how light. Now you can go back, if yours is real light, you can go back with just a little bit of red and kind of make some accents of color. Add a little bit more to it so it's got more than one color. Adds more dimension that way. Almost looks more like a flower, but that's okay. You can go and you could do the same thing with a little white if you made yours darker. See, add a little white to it. Just want to add some dimension by adding a little bit of other colors. All right. Now we're going to paint the turtle's shell. I'm going to take a medium flat brush for this one. Now hopefully the green is mostly dry. It's not quite everywhere though, because I can see where it's still wet. All right, we're going to take this pink, this light red that we made, we're going to add a little bit more red to it. So you don't want it quite that light, but it's up to you what color you want yours. Don't worry about mixing it in all the way. And we want that green to show underneath it or blend in with it a little bit, so just go right over it. If you have too much blending into it, go ahead and wash your brush off before you take more of the red. We wanted it to look like the edge of the shell. That's why we did it in green, so it gives more contrast to the shell and looks more like it really is like the end of the shell. But we do want to blend it in a little bit so it's not as noticeable. It's still there. Alright, fill in the whole shell. Just follow the shape of the shell when you're filling it in. If the little green gets in the middle, that's okay. It just adds more dimension, more texture, more character. If you want to add a couple more layers when it dries, go ahead and do that. So you get a nice color the way you like it, and I like that. Now you could add a little bit of white to highlight the middle of the shell, make it look like the light is shining on it. So just take a little bit of white, and just kind of blend it in. You don't want big streaks of white or anything, but you just want to kind of lighten it up a little like that. All right. Now while that's drying, we're going to go back with some green, and we're going to darken up our green a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit more green to my light green. And I'm going to go back over my flippers, but not completely. You just kind of want to make it highlighting. Blend it into the other and just kind of give it some highlights. You don't want to cover the whole entire thing, you just want to do part of it. This one. I'm going to do a little bit on his head too, just kind of on the sides more. And then if you put too much dark on there and you don't like it because you put too much, you can go back, take the light, and go back over it and kind of blend it in so you don't have as sharp of a line there too. That way it just kind of blends together better. All right. Now the shell pattern, this is what I did to begin with, is I made 6 sides and then just did the whole thing. You can do whatever pattern you want for the shell back. I'm going to do about the same kind of thing, but I think I'm going to make it bigger this time. So what I'm going to do is add. I'm going to take some of my green and I'm going to add some of my red, and I'm going to make a brown color. I'll probably have to add more red to that because that's got the white in it. Yep. Okay, so add a little bit more red. Trying to make kind of a brownish color. Now I probably added too much red, but kind of like that. A little bit of green still. Okay. So now I'm going to take a little brush and I'm going to take this color, this brownish color, and now I'm going to make the pattern. I'm going to make mine bigger this time. So I'm going to make one right in the middle. You might want to wait for your shell to dry because they are pretty wet still. And we're just going to make a 6-sided shape. There you go, right in the middle. And then I'm going to make another one up here. Do the same thing. Oops, too much. It's easier to start in the middle where you want like the main one to be in the center. Like I said, it's not dry enough, so please pause and wait and do yours when it's drier. I just can't pause mine today, okay? I don't have a helper. Okay, so I'm going to do that for the back, and now I'm just going to bring out the sides like that. Like I said, be creative, do whatever you want for the pattern for the shell. Just use your imagination. Okay, that's mine. All right. Now while that's drying, I'm going to make some little red dots. I'm just going to take straight red, and I'm just going to make some little dots all over my starfish. Just using a skinny brush. You could even use a toothpick and just dip it in the paint and then touch it to the canvas. Alright, and then after I do some little red ones, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do some little white ones. Depending on what color you made yours and how well whatever color shows up. If you made yours real light, then maybe only the red shows up. If you made it real dark, maybe only the white shows up. It's up to you. All right, now we're going to paint. I'm gonna move this out of the way. I'm going to paint the entire background in blue. I'm going to use straight blue. Move this a smidgen. All right. I would take a smaller brush and paint around the edges. Like I said, you probably want to pause the video and wait till yours is dry before you do this. It'll be a lot easier. And then your blue will cover up any little mistakes. If you went over, like on this spot right there, it'll cover that up. You didn't get a smooth edge on some of your lines. Like right there, I got some green hanging out. I can go over it. Trickiest part is around the starfish. But if we would have painted the background first, we never would have covered it up to see the top color. Ah, darn it. Okay. If you go over the lines, just work it out. It's fine. Famous artists make mistakes too. You can't even see where that mistake was. Okay, so just do the whole background then in blue. Try not to make it lumpy though. Try to smear your paint around. You don't want it to be too heavy. I'm going to go ahead and finish doing around the edges. In fact, I think that flipper's too big. I'm going to go over it and make it a little bit smaller. There. Now I like them better. Okay. Now, you know what? I think I'm going to do the background first and then I'm going to turn it around. You want to use a bigger brush, like I use big flat brushes. You can fill it in a little faster that way. Up to you. Right. Now I'm going to switch temporarily to the flat brush. Try to make it a little quicker here. A little quicker with big brush, bigger brush. All right, I'm going to turn this. Almost got the wrong spot. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the other brush to finish doing the edges. Okay. Fix that. Takes the longest to paint around all those edges of the turtle. All right, almost done. All right, I'm going to switch back to the flat brush. Okay, all done. Now we need to make 2 eyes. So what I'm going to do is use my little brush. If you have any black paint left at home, you could use that if you don't want to make a dark color. I just didn't pass out black paint because I know a lot of you already had it, and we only needed 2 little dots worth. So I'm going to take some blue and I'm going to add it to my brown color that I made. And I'm going to make a dark color with that. Add more of it. Like I said, if you already have black left over at home, go ahead and use the black if you'd prefer. It'll be darker that way. All right, and now just make 2 round oval kind of shapes, right like that. All right, now we need to make some white little like wave shapes in there and some little circles for bubbles. So I would use a small brush. I'm gonna use this one as soon as I get all this blue off of it. All right, just use straight white and just want to wait till your blue is dry. So pause for a little bit and then come back to it. I just don't have the, can't do that right now. So just make some little circles to be bubbles. You don't want to fill them in, you just want a white circle. You can make little ones or you can make big ones, however many you want, wherever you want them. Up to you. All right, then after that, you're just going to make some little wiggly wave lines, just like that. Just kind of put them between the bubbles. That's just signifying the water as he floats up. One more right there. All right, and that's it. Don't forget to put your initials on it when you're done, and you are all set. I'll see you next week for the other one. Bye.